going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on this massive tropical storm Hilary that we've got going on across parts of Southern California and the Southern California Baja Peninsula. But this used to be a very, very strong Category 4 hurricane before slamming the peninsula of Mexican territory and then going up into Southern California as a tropical storm. Now, the big deal and the big story is how much rain this thing's going to be dropping. It is going to drop ridiculous amounts of rainfall over parts of Southern California, bringing the flash flood threat soaring to the point where we might have catastrophic limits on, pretty much just this entire flood event. But we will definitely see some disastrous flooding out there in Southern California. And most of it has already started. You can see we've got plumes of moisture rising up into the Southern California area. You can see these oranges, these reds, and these yellows and bright greens. That is a lot of rainfall and moisture that's moving. That's dropping down from the atmosphere. So the atmosphere right now is absolutely loaded with moisture and just moist conditions for a lot of rainfall that's going to be happening today. But this storm is still circulating. You can see these clouds out here. These low-lying clouds are all circulating with these rainfall bands. But this storm is definitely not nearly as organized as it used to be. As you can see, man, just a few days ago, we saw how organized and beautiful the storm looked. Now it's just a big blob of rainfall. So we're going to be tracking all this throughout all of the duration of the storm, but we got to really dig deep into the details on this storm as we get into its projection and its its lifetime as it makes landfall in Southern California. So again, looking at the radar, the satellite loop, for Hilary, you could see this was pretty much just a few hours ago. It was making a landfall right here where that hurricane warning is in place. So this is where you had its last hurricane force winds and conditions out there. Now, at this point here, it has dropped down to tropical storm status, and where we are right now is pretty much just north of this dot here. So this is where we are right now. It's pretty much a 65 mile an hour tropical storm, meaning that this storm is packed with winds that have reached 65 miles an hour and wind gusts that have been consistently blowing up to 70 miles an hour. So we still have a high-end tropical storm, very dangerous situation here, and so we gotta cover all of that for you guys right now. So we're going to be moving on to the National Hurricane Center details on the storm here. We're looking at the current path of it, the projected path. This hasn't changed much. The only changes in the forecast is that the storm will eventually die down a lot faster than it used to. We at first, when we saw that this thing was going to make a turn and head straight for Southern California, everyone thought that this was going to go all the way up into Oregon and parts of Idaho. Now, this is just going to stop right here in central Nevada as soon as 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you're waking up tomorrow morning, this thing is a post-tropical cyclone. This won't even be a tropical cyclone. This will just be remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary, okay? But this will be at its peak at around 5 p.m. Today. So we're getting into lunchtime, and dinner time out here in parts of Southern California. And this is where that storm's going to be at its peak. So what do we expect? We expect inches of rainfall. We're going to get 4 up to 5, maybe even 6, 7 inches of rainfall. Some areas could even see up to 10 inches of rainfall in less than 24 hours. It is a ridiculous amount of rainfall. But this yellow you see here, this is the current wind field estimate. So right now, the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center are estimating tropical storm winds at inside this orange yellowish area. That is including some areas you could see up here in southwestern Arizona and extreme southern California. So it is currently moving into those areas, and you could already see too that we have an updated tropical storm warning. This tropical storm warning has now spread into parts of the western coastline of California. This is including both San Diego and I believe Los Angeles. So both major cities of California are under a tropical storm warning. We don't see any hurricane warnings out here. We don't see any hurricane watches. But what's interesting though is that you don't see any tropical storm watches for this area. I think we actually there's a chance we could still get a tropical storm watch for an area up here or an area up here. But I think that we definitely the biggest concern is definitely for this area right in the middle of this point right here. I think it's just a matter of if you're going to get hit directly by the storm, you're going to get more rainfall. If you're going to be if you're outside of the cone, just outside, even if you're just outside of the cone, you'll probably get some pretty strong impacts, but not direct impacts. If you get directly impacted by the storm, that's where you have that catastrophic flooding and the very, very strong damaging wind gusts, okay? But we'll go up to the rest of these panels here, and we'll look at the rest of the details on here. We'll look at the arrival times of the winds. This is going to be a little interesting to see which places are going to see the stronger winds, okay? So if you're looking for those stronger winds, be on the lookout around 2 p.m. today. This is coming up. I think this would be for Western time. I'm not sure. It says PDT. I'm not sure what that stands for, but I think I'm just going to switch this to Western time. So I would say anywhere from now to 2 p.m., which would be in about 3 hours. If you're in this region out here, you could start seeing those really strong winds, which would be wind gusts that could get up to 73 miles an hour. That is considered tropical storm strength. And then if you get over wind speed, sustained winds over 74 miles an hour, that's a hurricane. But we are not going to see a hurricane. These winds are going to die down very, very fast, and they are not going to be nearly as strong as they are now. As we get to 8 p.m. and then the overnight hours of tonight. But if you're in places near San Diego, Los Angeles, or maybe even near Death Valley, you could definitely see some stronger wind gusts, maybe approaching 65 miles per hour, okay? But the areas within the outermost black counter have at least a 5% chance of receiving winds of 34 plus knots, which would be equivalent to 39 plus miles an hour, okay? So that's pretty much it for that wind field and just the wind timing for the storm. And we'll go on to our flash flooding potential. This is where things get a little concerning and interesting here. We have a high, at least 70% chance of flash flooding for this entire region out here. This is including a lot of Southern California, and you notice this goes into parts of South Central Nevada, okay? This does not This does not include any major cities, but you can see literally just west of Las Vegas, you have that high chance of seeing flash flooding. That means even if you're on the western side of Las Vegas, I would say you're pretty much considered in at least a 70% chance or 60 to 70% chance of seeing flash flooding. That's scary. That's just out for this is the forecast. Okay, the rainfall, the steadier rainfall hasn't even started out there, and you already have a 60% to 70% chance of seeing flash flooding to start with. Okay, that's what's really concerning about the storm. Okay, but this does include areas literally just east of San Diego and Los Angeles. So if you're just east of Bakersfield, Los Angeles, or San Diego, you've got to be on the alert for very, very intense rainfall. And you could even see for those cities out here, both Los Angeles and San Diego are in the moderate level 3 out of 4 risk, which is a 40% risk of seeing flash flooding within 25 miles of a point. Okay, but this moderate risk stretches for the outside areas of that high risk, including some areas further north into Nevada, including Las Vegas, Tonopah, This does include Los Angeles and San Diego again. But then that slight risk is that just huge area where you're going to have excessive rainfall. It's just the flooding threat is a little bit lower than some other areas. And then there also is that marginal 5% risk for seeing flash flooding. Okay, so we've taken care of the risk for flash flooding. Okay, so we're gonna look at the key messages here, just because this is going to probably be my last update on Hilary, unless the forecast completely changes. But this will probably be my last update on Hilary. So preparations for flooding impacts across the southwestern United States should be completed, with the peak intensity of heavy rainfall expected later today through early Monday morning. The potentially historic amount of rainfall is expected to cause life-threatening, locally catastrophic flash urban and arroyo flooding, including landslides, mudslides, and debris flows through early Monday morning. Okay, what you all read is just that there is almost a guarantee for catastrophic to devastating flooding throughout parts of Southern California. That is, I mean, I'm telling you guys, when you hear that, when it's that certain and that, you know, just definite on the key messages posted by the National Hurricane Center, I mean, you got to understand that this is, I mean, it's going to happen. This is going to happen. You are going to see terrible flash flooding in this entire region. That's almost certain. But localized flooding impacts, some significant, are also expected across northern portions of the Intermountain West. So parts of Arizona, parts of Central California, and then up into parts of Central Nevada. I mean, all these areas are definitely going to have a significant chance of seeing flash flooding. But specifically, that southern region of California is where you guys are going to get catastrophic to devastating flooding. Tropical storm conditions are expected across the central and northern portions of the Baja California Peninsula within the tropical storm warnings area through tonight. So I think, not only me but the National Hurricane Center are all agreeing that the storm will certainly bring some more gusty winds and rainfall amounts to the peninsula as the storm even moves away, just because those bands of rain and thunderstorms are going to be rotating around the center of the storm. So even if the center of the storm is localized in Southern California, those outer bands of the storm are still going to be scraping through this area. So you're still going to get some on and off rain and some intense wind as the storm moves out. So it's definitely possible. Tropical storm conditions are expected to begin later today in portions of the southwestern U.S. within the tropical storm warning area. Winds could be particularly strong and gusty near the areas of higher terrain. So if you're in the upper elevations, like if you're closer to the mountains, the mountainous regions of California and western Arizona, you could definitely see stronger wind gusts, maybe getting up to 60, 65 miles an hour. That is definitely possible and pretty much likely for today. Winds could be particularly strong and, gusty winds are expected to spread well inland across the western United States. So not only Southern California and Arizona, you have this entire region that's going to be experiencing some strong and gusty winds today. Large swells generated by Hilary will affect portions of the Baja California Peninsula and Southern California over the next day or two. These swells are likely to cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. So, I mean, I know pretty much, I know none of you are going to be at the beach today, but if you are near the beach, these waves are the waves are going to be high enough to cause some roadways near the waterfront to flood, and there will be some pretty substantial storm surge. So those waves, they have large swells generated by Hilary, so that will not only impact the coastal regions of the Baja California Peninsula, but also parts of the southwestern coastline of California here, right by San Diego and Los Angeles. So if you're on the coastline, watch out for that coastal flooding. That is certainly going to be one of these main impacts from Hilary, okay? So we're going to be looking at the HRRR model for our wind gusts. We're going to be looking at our winds again just to see kind of how strong exactly these winds will be. As we look at where we are now, this is about 12 p.m. This would be set for me. This would be for Eastern time, I believe. So this was about 3 hours ago. The storm, clearly the stronger winds haven't made it onto California land here. There are a few relatively strong winds out here at 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. But really, you're not going to get the main event until later. We're still getting into 3 p.m. The strongest winds are definitely all across this inner coastal regions of the peninsula. You have winds over the water at around 40 to 50 miles an hour. That's a pretty strong tropical storm, I'll tell you guys. And these winds, they die down considerably, but there's still going to be some scattered pockets of wind gusts that could get up to 50 miles an hour. As you see these reds here, those are just sustained winds at 40 knots. These are in knots, okay? So when you have sustained winds at around 40 knots, it's around 45 to 50 miles an hour. So let's say you have 45 mile an hour sustained winds. Those wind gusts could certainly get up to as high as 60 miles an hour. But this storm continues to roll through. Look at this in southern Nevada. A very, very strong coat of wind is going to wrap around the state here, right around where this low pressure center is going to be. The eastern side. If you're on the eastern side of this low pressure center, specifically right near Las Vegas, this stronger line of winds are going to be moving through the Las Vegas area, probably around 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, for you guys in Western time. You can see here this is 4 a.m. Eastern time. So if you guys can do me a favor, just try and convert back to Western time for me. So it's if you didn't know already, it's just 3 hours back. But yeah, I think you could get very, very strong winds as late as 2, maybe even 3 in the morning tomorrow morning. And then we run out of model run time on the HRRR here, but we still do see these little snaky areas here. These lines here. These are lines of large wind swaths of Hilary that are going to be producing wind gusts that could get up to 50 to 60 miles an hour. That is certainly possible. Okay, so that's going to take care of the winds and how strong those winds are going to be. I accidentally did not set up this map right. Let me get back to our rainfall amount map here. All right, here we go. So let's go back. Let's go out to when the storm is going to move right through. Some of the areas, some of the rainfall totals up here in southern and central Nevada aren't going to be complete just because the storm won't be completely moved through at this point. But for Southern California, where that main threat is, this is our area that we're concerned about in this pink, in this red, and in this purple here. Let me read you that. That was a little sketchy out there, but in this pink and this purple and this reddish orange area is where we're really concerned about the threat for flash flooding. Okay, so this is out for pretty much the entire length of the storm. These purples, these pinks, and these oranges, these are rainfall amounts ranging from 2 up to 5.5 to 6, maybe even 7 inches of rain. Look at these little pockets of these yellows and oranges and really, really extremely dark pinks. Purples, localized right here in South Central California. Those are rainfall totals that are getting up there to 5 to 6, maybe even up to 8 inches of rain. That's certainly more than enough to cause flash flooding. So the problem is that if we see this amount of rainfall on the coastline, which we do get some pretty substantial amounts here on this purple and pink, this is anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 inches of rain on the coastline, you will definitely have some very, very substantial coastline flash flooding, because you're not only going to probably have water spilling into the streets from that storm surge and those waterways overflowing, but you're also going to have that water running downstream. You're going to have roads near the coastline along California are going to be running down. So if you have a lot of rushing water and gushing water going down the streets, then when you get to that flat point right before the water surface, you not only have the storm surge bringing massive amounts of water into the street, you also have that rainfall that's going down the streets into that area. That all collects and mounts up into a very, very intense and dangerous flash flood. But up and down this entire region, even into central California near the Sierras, you have rainfall amounts really primarily ranging from 2 to 5, 6 inches of rain, and then some of you in that dark purple, the orange, and the reds shades that you could get up to 9 to 10 inches of rain. So that's something to definitely be concerned about, as there will be catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding. That is certainly likely for and almost definite for the storm. But those outside areas too, you see that purple and the green, those are rainfall amounts ranging from a half an inch to 2 inches of rain. So even if you're on the outside edge, like this area of blue here, this area of blue up into Nevada, you still will see at least half an inch of rain. That is certainly possible for this entire region. So that's going to be all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So it's going to be the last video on Hilary, so I just want to make sure that you guys are staying as safe as possible if you're in the way of this. But again, I'm going to say it one more time, catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding is definitely going to be happening with the system in Southern California. So you've got to be ready for whatever is going to be happening in your area specifically, okay? So you're going to have pretty big storm surge if you're on the coast, very, very intense and life-threatening flash flooding, and you're going to have some very strong winds that could topple some trees and break some very, very large tree branches off those bigger trees. So you gotta be ready for anything that's going to be happening. Power outages are expected for some areas of Southern California, so just be ready. And don't be scared, be prepared, and I guess we'll just leave it at that. So we'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you so much for coming to watch.